we're training the teams, we're giving the right pricing models, and a lot of our publishers then have different models. Whatever the smallest one, $100, then $200 and $300. So we are really talking about small advertisers. And in the end, if we are successful and we're not selling only 5 a month, but we hopefully get them all to 100 or 200 or 300 that they can sell a month, we just take a share out of that extra revenue that we build up together with the publisher. So what we are basically doing is building profit centers together with our publishers.
This is Small Press, Big Ideas, a podcast about the business of local news in the United States. I'm your host, Paul Gewertz. Small Press, Big Ideas is about the opportunities and challenges that local news publishers are facing for their businesses. I'll sit down and talk with journalists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and more in the local news industry to find out what's working, what isn't, and how the local news ecosystem can innovate and flourish in the 21st century. All right, today on the podcast, I am joined by Christian Scherbel. Caveat, that is not probably how it's actually pronounced in Germany, but he gave me the go-ahead to use my Americanized version. Christian is the CEO of Smartico, where they provide supercharged local ads at scale with AI and human touch. I'll go with that. Christian, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right. So we've spoken a couple times, and that's a very brief introduction there, but I'd love it if you could give the audience just a bio on your life and your career. What led you up to Smartico? I'd love to hear it in your words.
Yeah, sure. So you already gave it away. My name is German as yours is, but I'm originally really from Germany, and I'm an aviation engineer by training. So I studied to become an aviation engineer, and my wife always jokes with me why I'm building ads and advertising and not planes. And I still have a hard time describing that. But probably the story is the following. So during university studies for aviation, I discovered that there is no one really covering aviation safety in the way that I thought it should be covered, especially airline by airline, really making a brief analysis, which airline is the safest. And so I stumbled upon becoming a B2B newspaper or news publisher myself. And have to admit, I really loved that very much and didn't want to go into any cubicles of Boeing or big airlines and decide, no, I want to become an entrepreneur and I want to continue this crazy thing called media and internet. And then founded my second company, which was a software as a service provider for classifieds marketplaces, basically real estate, cars, jobs marketplaces. And from there, I realized that is a hard business for publishers, really competing with the big national, sometimes even global competitors that you might have, for example, in the jobs industry, you have Indeed and all those others. But there must be another way how you make money, especially if you're a smaller publisher. We then sold the company at some point. It was a venture capital backed business, which also led me to realize I don't want to do a venture capital backed business anymore. I want to do my own bootstrapped thing, and I really want to do the thing that I do with passion. And as I said, aviation engineer by training, but my passion or by heart, I'm really a local advertising sales enthusiast. I learned that that's really what I want to do. And then I founded Smartico, my third company, and this is now 11 years ago. And the idea was, how can we turn the gold that all those local publishers still have, this relation with the small and medium-sized advertisers, into digital money? Because a lot of them are struggling. And how can we do this? Using technology, using an intelligent way how to sell it, not having the standard sales methodology, which just is about clicks and impressions. Can we do that smarter? Can we do it easier and more intuitive? And yeah, that's how we started 11 years ago. And now we are still very proudly doing the same core idea, bringing small and medium-sized business online for publishers, working with more than 500 publishers in Europe as well as in the US and Canada. And yeah, trying to build profit centers for them to make more advertising revenues.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, the way he described it, it's a perfect encapsulation of what I'm trying to find with this podcast. Is like, what do you say, the gold that local news publishers still have. They've still got that, there's still that attention, that need for information that people know at a local level. And it's just like, how do you keep up with all the digital disruption that's happened and everything? It sounds like you're kind of trying to take a chunk out of that. And could you go a little further into how Smartico works? That was kind of a broader overview, but more the nuts and bolts without getting too engineering on us, I guess. You're just, how does it work for from the publisher side, from the small business side, et cetera, even like the business model, how you make money? I'd love to kind of dig into that a little bit more.
Sure. So one of our main products is really capitalizing on the existing print advertisers that lots of the local publishers still have, that are those small and medium-sized business, may it be a hairdresser, may it be a plumber, may it be an electrician, may it be a car dealer. So all of those smaller companies that are still advertising in print. But often we realize if we look at the website of the publisher, we find none of them online. They're just doing print only. And that has two big disadvantages. So first, we are not making money out of those strong relations that we still have with our local communities, with our local advertisers. And at the same time, online, we are relying on mostly programmatic ad revenue, which is usually very low CPM. So I usually get very low prices for 1,000 impressions. So, and the idea that we have is, okay, let's take what those local advertisers already have, the smallest input, the smallest briefing that they can give us. And that might be, for example, their print ad. But it's not necessarily only the print ad. It also might be a social media post that they did. Because let's face it, most of those even smallest advertisers, they already do something online. They do something in social media. So let's take the smallest input that we can do, or that we can take when they already have a relation to the publisher. Then it's the print ad. If they don't have a relation anymore, it might be the social media post, the brochure, or whatever. We take that, we extract everything from, let's say, the print ad that we can get. May it be the logo, the images, the text, the slogans, the colors, the font types, and everything that makes up the message that this local advertiser has to tell. And then we enrich that with everything that we can find on the web about this advertiser. So without the advertiser or the publisher having to do anything, we go on the social media profile of this advertiser, we go on the website, we go on the Google Places profiles, we try to find every piece of information about this business, and then we take this, I call it mini library that we found about this business based on the print ad, based on the brochure, based on everything that was there as an input and everything that we enriched with, and then have real people that build a banner, and that's very important to us, always a landing page additionally to this banner, so that we can really make sure this advertiser gets a really good digital ad that has everything that it needs to not only convince a reader to click, but also to convince a reader that this is a professional business because it looks great, it has all the information, it has images, what you're just expecting as a reader today, and it keeps readers engaged with the brand message that this business has. So if they have whatever, an offer in the print ad, 20% discounts, let's say it's someone who sells bats on bats, then we put that very central in our banner, even if it's not happening on their website, if it's just on the print ad. And that's the reason why we always build a landing page, because we realized it's not only that if people click on the ad and the website is not optimal, it might even not be optimized for all devices. We often realized the website of those small business is a business card. It was built in 2015, 2020, whatever, and it has very overall general information. It tells a long story about whatever, the company history, and might be even GDPR and some other crazy stuff, but it doesn't tell the one thing that makes me make a conversion, which is I have 20% discount till the end of the month. If you contact me today, you still get the discount. If you don't contact me, it will be 20% more expensive again. And this is missing, and this is what we put on the landing page to really have a story. You have the banner that tells the story about, for example, this discount. You have the landing page, and then we have, without, as I said, the publisher or the advertiser doing anything, a full campaign that we then directly book on the websites of the publishers. We can also book it on third-party pages if the ad inventory, especially for smaller publishers, is not enough. And our business is then to really guide and train and help publishers to sell these small and medium-sized digital campaigns at scale. We're training the teams, we're giving the right pricing models, and a lot of our publishers then have different models. The smallest one, $100, then $200 and $300. So we are really talking about small advertisers. And in the end, if we are successful and we're not selling only 5 a month, but we hopefully get them all to 100 or 200 or 300 that they can sell a month, we just take a rev share, a share out of that extra revenue that we build up together with the publisher. So what we are basically doing is building profit centers together with our publishers.
That's awesome. So something that just popped up that I hadn't thought of before, really. I love that you build the landing page for like the smaller publishers, and then you guys just host that, I'm assuming, to kind of take that brand identity and do it there. But let's say I'm a small plumber. I feel like that's the one we always use, the plumber. And you have a 20% offer or whatever it is. And they come into that Smartico landing page. What do you do with that? Do you just gather the first party data and send it, like the phone number or whatever, to the plumber? Like, just where's that connection? How do they actually make it to that plumber? Does that make sense, that question?
Sure.
From that landing page. Does it then direct them to their website or, yeah?
Yeah, so this landing page has basically 2 purposes. So number 1 is to really inform and educate about this offer and about this business in general. So everything that you need to know about this 20% offer, when does it apply, to which products does it apply, who is this plumber, we add things like Google reviews and everything. So ideally, this landing page should give you a very good overview. But of course, the second purpose is get in touch with this plumber. And that means like we have all the contact data and all the contact details that you might need to now get in touch. That means, of course, you can visit the full website. Of course, you can visit their social media profiles. Of course, you can directly one-click call them. Or you can, if we have the email address, you can even email them. But our the thing that we learned over the last 11 years that we have been working with is that often, not only on the side of the publishers, but also with the advertisers. I mean, Google was so great teaching us that it's all only about the click. And if I have a campaign that produces 100 clicks, it will always be better than the campaign that produced 10 clicks. And no matter what happens on the landing page, it's just about the clicks. And we try to turn it a little bit upside down and say, okay, it's much more important, especially if I'm talking about this plumber that we now have as the perfect example, because he or she probably wouldn't have the 20% discount offer. It would rather be something like a brand message saying, hey, I'm the best plumber in town. I have a 24/7 emergency service. If anything should happen in your bathroom, please make sure to call me because I'm the best. This is not something where you do a buy now button and say, oh, we have a 20% click rate on the buy now button. But it's rather something where you have to measure, are people really reading this? Is your brand message getting out to the right people? And that's what we do very, very strictly when you say, okay, we are tracking how much time are people first staying on the banner, looking at the messages that we have to tell in those carousel ads that we usually do with different slogans, different images, but also then on the landing page, how long do they stay on this? Because I would say someone who's even not clicking on the landing page towards the website of the advertiser, but they stay, and that's the average that we get, 40 to 50 seconds on this landing page and reads about this plumber, is at least as valuable for this plumber as someone who's clicking, let's visit the website, and he then gets to the website and might end at a dead end there. So we really try to focus on this thing that I believe the publishers can do better than everyone else, is getting attention, quality attention, and all the statistics that I read, we see that publishers are really doing that very well. Let's compare a typical banner that you can put on social media, less than a second view time because people are scrolling that fast. No one wants to read it, too much noise on there. But do the same ad on a publisher website, you get up to 5 seconds. And if you do a carousel ad like we do and it's regionally relevant content, it might even go up to 10 seconds. And having 10 seconds instead of less than 1 second of view time of your banner message, I'm the best plumber in town, probably does also mean this is a 10 times more valuable ad impression than the one that you might buy at a lower price at Facebook or Instagram or wherever you might buy it.
That's great. I just had a couple of guys on the podcast. I think it's the one that actually came out this week as we're recording, probably not as you're listening to this. And they were saying how they do like fractional services for publishers, just a variety of different stuff. And they were saying how, they'll have people, they're like, oh, our scroll to the bottom of the page rate is only 30%. That's depressing, because they just hear the numbers, and they're like, actually, that's really good, So it's like knowing that stuff. So apologies, I'm going a little out of order. But could you speak on what KPIs you like the advertisers to be focusing on? Because you kind of spoke about that, kind of reading into how people are consuming it and spending time on those landing pages and everything. Could you just expand on that a little bit? Like what kind of KPIs should publishers and small businesses be focusing on, in your opinion, broadly?
So I'm a big believer in attention. And the big question always is how do you measure attention? I mean, like there's different things, how you can measure it. But the two most important KPIs for me personally, and that's something that we are working very intensely with, because it's very easy also to communicate on dashboards and in sales discussions that you might have with your advertisers, is the view time on the banner, as well as the view time on the landing page. And the second thing is really engagement. What are people really doing? And this is one of the main reasons why when we are building those banners, and we are calling those banners based on whatever social media post or the print ad, which I described before, smart ads, that's basically our brand name for this product. And always when we do those smart ads, we have a carousel ad. So meaning there is, let's say, 3 slides that you have on this banner, 3 different images, 3 different slogans. And that makes it very easy to see what are people doing before they might click. Are they really interacting with this banner? And this is why we are measuring as an engagement. Are they clicking on the second slide? Are they asking for the third slide? How many people are really seeing the whole brand message? On the first slide, it might just say, hey, I'm the best plumber in town. On the second slide, it might say, I have this, let's keep our example, the 20% discount. How many people are seeing the second and the third slide? How long are they staying on this banner? And what we see consistently across all those publishers, across many countries, that what I said before, versus social media, we as publishers have such a big advantage, because we have time. If we do the right banners, like for example, smart ads is an example we have up to 10 times more view time. So my brand message is seen much more. And most of the times, me as a local business, I don't have this buy now Nike shoe product where I say, okay, I can see, could I produce a spontaneous impulse that someone just bought this shoe because they saw it and say, I have to have it. Most of the times it's things that you need to get into the brains of the people where they say, okay, this is the best plumber. Okay, there is a brunch over the weekend. I have to talk tonight with my wife about this if we go there on the weekend, and so on and so on. So it's much more getting a message into the head of the people. And that's what we try to measure with this view time. Because we have to be honest that we have a really uphill battle against Google and social media that, of course, have a gazillion of clicks or a gazillion of users, and then they have also almost a gazillion of clicks, and they can give it out cheap. But it's not the click. And I mean, like when you surf the internet, I mean, like, you see it so often. First, when we are serious and trustworthy publishers, our click rates will be very, very low, because people come there, they focus on the content. We don't put the ad first, and we don't put it in your face and say, first you have to click the ad here and then you can read the article. But there are many other pages, those classical made for AdSense or made for something else pages, that are just for people that don't have a high editorial standard, just want to make money with it. And they can push up the click rate so high, because if I tell you, hey, if you want to read this article and you just came from a Google search, you have to click this ad. Of course, my click rate will be whatever, 80%. But that is not a valuable click. And really educating advertisers, but also helping publishers to communicate that the click is not everything, because I can manipulate the click very easily. But if I manage to really put attention first, things can change very much. And I'm selling a product that really helps my local advertisers to build their local brands in the right local environment. And suddenly it starts making more sense, because lots of publishers struggle in getting those smallest advertisers, because they once did a campaign with 5,000 ad impressions. They said, oh my God, I just got 2 clicks. That was terrible. I will never do it again. Okay, we have to do a better banner. We have to do a better landing page, but we also have to get a better KPI in measuring, was that successful? Yes, 2 clicks probably was not successful, but we still have to measure something differently. It might be that even 2 clicks is an incredibly successful campaign if it's something that doesn't need a click because everything is already in the banner. If you say, hey, we have a festival tomorrow at this and that location, come. Why should I click and get more information? Everything is already in there.
Right. Awesome. That's great. That makes sense. That's what you'd be one to focus on. So that's great stuff. So do you have you kind of touched on this a lot already, so I don't know if there's a lot more to say about it, but are there any other major differences? I think it's kind of been self-explanatory. Are there any other major differences between Smartico and like a standard programmatic digital ad platform, like what we were talking about AdSense a minute ago? Like I said, I think it's kind of clear, but any other thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, like that's probably one of our biggest, let's say, competitors, without, of course, naming Google as our competitors. But I mean, like if I look from a publisher point of view, how do I make my money digital? Then it sounds nice to just get Google AdSense and all my problems will be solved. But even Google on their own FAQ documents tells very clearly that programmatic ads versus direct ads, you just make a fraction of the CPM, of the price per 1,000 impressions. And I think that's the big difference with smart ads on Smartico. You not only strengthen the relation that you already have with your existing local advertisers, make more money out of your local community, which helps you to be an even more important part of your community, but it also makes just more money for the ad inventory that you have. And Google, I think, states that the typical CPM of a programmatic ad via the AdSense network is somewhere $1 to $2. But if you do direct sales, it's 8 to 10. So that's the Google numbers. Looking at the advertisers and then the publishers that we have with smart ads, I rather see that somewhere between $10 and $20 that we make CPM, and then it's a 10x. And that's very relevant. And one thing besides the make a stronger relation with your advertisers, make more money with your existing ad inventory, a third thing that's very important for me is keep your relation and the quality feel that you have for your readers. Because if I'm just making as much ad clutter as possible on my page using AdSense, my readers won't like it, because not only the page will be very full in order for me to make enough money with the small CPMs to pay my newsroom, but the other thing is I will very, very easily be bored, and even worse, when I just see all those, crypto millionaire in 2 days, be lean in 30 days, and all this crap ads that you get if you rely only on programmatic, compared to, hey, there is a local restaurant, we have a brunch on Sunday, this is the price, do you want to come over? And there's 2 or 3 photos of the last brunch that they did. That's much more relevant for me as a reader. So I think it really goes threefold. It's more money for the publisher, it's more results for the local advertisers that are not doing digital yet with the publisher or too little, and it's also about the readers, increasing the time readers stay on the page and the relevance, the local relevance that readers attribute to the newspaper.
Great stuff. I mean, from what you've said so far, it seems like a no-brainer for publishers, for small business, for businesses, for anybody. I'm curious what kind of pushback you get from, let's say, publishers when you're, on a sales call or just talking to them about this. What's the biggest thing that stops them from being like, yeah, obviously I should be using this, if anything, and what's your response to that?
Yeah. So the one thing is what I already touched on is this, hey, we're already making some programmatic revenue and we're doing this amount of money. And then the clear argument is, hey, we could definitely 5x, 10x that if we start really doing direct sales. But the second argument that we often get is, hey, we have all those local advertiser relations. And of course, we are not stupid. We offer them digital campaigns all the time. I always go to this plumber and tell them, hey, make a digital campaign. And he looks at me and says, no, I'm not doing a digital campaign. I don't have a banner. I don't have a landing page. And by the way, everything that I need digitally, I'll anyways do that on Facebook. And this is where we usually need some time to help publishers to understand that this is really a different approach to getting those small advertisers online, because it's not this very complex campaign by campaign. I build you a banner, I build you a landing page, I explain everything from scratch. It's a much more scaled approach because we immediately build all those banners for all the print advertisers or all the relevant local advertisers that had a social media post at scale. We just build it. We not only build the banner, but we also have the landing page. All those times where people told you, oh yeah, I tried it, I had 2 clicks and those or 17 clicks or whatever it might have been, and the clicks didn't work for me because I have no tracking on my website and I'm not tracking it anyways. Suddenly you turn that around, and having a model that has no overhead for you as a publisher compared to I have to build all the banners myself, or the publisher or the advertiser tells me I have no banner, so I don't do any digital ads. So that changes because you have a perfect banner and you have a perfect landing page. All these discussions change that you usually have when you speak to those smaller advertisers, and often when you speak to the sales reps that are rather focused on the smaller advertisers, this discussion about, oh my God, that's so complex. Should I sell them CPMs? Should I sell them CPC, CPA? What is about the frequency capping? I mean, it's so many buzzwords where 80% of the advertisers and probably also 60% of the sales reps tune out and say, okay, this is so complex. Let me just do what I did all the time. So at least I'm not doing something wrong. And this is the other thing that we just do differently, having one simple model where you go out, you have the banner and landing page included. And then let's say it's a $99 model. You get the banner, you get the landing page, you get 5,000 ad impressions. We make sure it's regionally targeted the correct way, like your print ad was before. And in the end, we give you a dashboard that shows you we got 1,000 minutes of attention on your banner. So this is really like a very valuable result for your digital marketing or your overall brand marketing in the region. So that's how we usually counter that.
Yeah, that I love the kind of the one offering and just kind of making it simple and just like it's something I could do in my own business. Honestly, sometimes I overcomplicate things so much because I'm in my own head, like changing up these offers and everything, and then people are just like, wait, what? I thought we were talking about that. It just I'm just thinking on my own stuff right now, but that's great. So I know that Smartico takes like all the reviews, the brand messaging, all that, the images, and kind of turns them into the whole thing. But is there anything more like from the publisher's standpoint and the small business standpoint of creating the ad? Like, what does it look like when they go in and they're like, yeah, I want that $100 offer? Like, do they have to set up a profile? Like, literally, what's the UX look like? What's it look like from those standpoints?
So the UX is very, very simple because basically there is almost no UX except you have to sell those packages. Let's say we stay with this one example. Of course, it can be more complex. $99 and you get 5,000 ad impressions. You get the banner, you get the landing page, and you get the dashboard that you understand. So you have to sell that. And if you sell it, then the process can be as simple as you just uploading, let's say, the PDF of the print ad to a server of ours. It can be you're just sending us the link of the social media post that you want to have transformed into this campaign. So it's very, very simple. It's a full service model. It's not that we build a ton of technology in AI that we now expect the publishers or the advertisers to use. We rather see it as our duty to do this. I mean, like, there is a lot of complexity behind that, but we want to make it very, very simple for the sales teams that in the end have to sell it. So they go out and tell, let's say, this print advertiser, I can make sure that you reach the full regional audience. What you already did in print, plus $99, and we make sure it reaches print, it reaches mobile, and it reaches online users. And all of that is completely included. And then we work in the background. We do all those little things, finding the images, finding the text. Of course, doing a lot of AI with things like optimizing images. Lots of those advertisers have terrible images. You have to optimize them. You have to use a few filters here and there. You have to do slogan optimization. Often the slogans are not really what you would expect from a good slogan that clicks or that gets attention. And all of that is done by us in the background. We finish the banner and the landing page within latest 24 hours, and then we directly book it into the ad manager of the publisher. So no matter if they're using a Google Ad Manager, no matter if they're using a BroadStreet or whatever ad manager they might use, we just book it into their systems and we make sure it's as easy as possible. Of course, they can have a UX where they see all the ads. Of course, they get a preview link. Of course, they get the dashboard link. But it can be as easy as just uploading whatever they have, we building the banners, and we are directly serving it via their ad service.
I guess in addition to that, I hadn't written this down in the questions, but what does that look like on your end when you're doing all that stuff? I'm sure a lot of it is automated, but it sounds like there's got to be some manual stuff. Like that's a lot. It's just, I'm not technical, so I don't know what can be automated and what can't, but I assume not everything can be when you want to look at all the Google reviews and you want to look at their website and you want to look at this. What if you had to break down to a percentage, like how much are you doing and how much is just do you kind of have built into the automation?
I think it's difficult to really bring it down to a percentage, but of course we try to automate as much as possible, but we take big pride in the fact that we, from the very beginning, I mean, like we have been doing this now for 11 years, and back then AI was not as much on vogue as it is now. We back then had it as machine learning, or we just called it technology or algorithm or whatever you want to call it. It is always been used at our end as a co-pilot. It always was the co-pilot. Find me as much valuable information about this business. Present me what you, dear algorithm, think it might be the best what we can use. But at this point, always we get the human involved, and they take the material that we collected, the suggestions and recommendations the technology made, and then we build it with humans. So that's always what we do, because when we learned it, it might be 80, it might be 90% good AI. I mean, like you know, when you use it for your own research for things, in 80 to 90%, it might be the best employee you ever had. But in 10 or 20%, it might be lying to you. It might be doing wrong stuff. And you have no idea to find it out, except you have a human doing it. And so that's the reason why we say we always use it as a co-pilot, and then we do our work ourselves. So what we have as a KPI is getting as many ads as possible at a very quick turnaround time. But there are a few ads where you have to say sometimes you have to do almost 90 to 100% manually, because it's so complex to find the right thing. Or if you have a name which might be confusing, whatever, it might be a Tom Miller, a gardener, and you have so many Tom Miller gardeners all around the world. And then the algorithm takes the wrong Tom Miller, and then you have whatever regions mixed up and things like this. There are so many things where you have to make sure when it gets complex, there are humans involved. And that's the reason why we are really very proud to have a big operations team that's on our side, not on the publisher side, because we also say it is not fair and it's not a real help if we just have a AI suite that we give the publishers and they have to somehow find a way how to figure it out, how to use it. No, we say it's a full service. You send me the ad, you send me the social media post. I make sure that in the end, 24 hours latest, it turns up in your ad server as an amazing ad like you would have wished for from the beginning.
That's great. Yeah, the human touch is necessary. I use AI a lot in my workflow, and I don't know if I told you this, but I produce some AI narrated podcasts for publishers, and I brought the cost way down. And then I've had people say, like, why don't you just turn it into a tool that just takes my story and does all the stuff and just puts it right up in the RSS feed? And I have this file that I send them of what if you just let the AI narrating the text to speech bot go on its own. And like I've got this one, I can send it to you later. It's just some weird punctuation on the end of an address or something, and the narrator goes, "Please see us at," and then just trails off and does like a it literally sounds like that. And it's like, we cannot have this going out to people that are trying to get local information. They won't be taken seriously. So that's just
Absolutely.
kind of an anecdotal from my side of like why that is necessary.
probably everyone in the podcast can probably relate to that, because we all had it. I mean, like, I'm using it very much for research, and you go into your research and you say, hey, give me whatever publishers that fit the following criteria, and then it tells you 10 publishers, and you know that 2 of them are for sure not within this criteria, and you tell them, hey, number 2 and number 7, that doesn't follow those criteria. And then the answer is just yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you at least get red and say, oh, sorry, I made a mistake because of this and that information that I got before, and that's the reason. No, it just says, yes, I'm lying to you, and it's up to you to figure out which of those 10 points are a lie. And I mean, like, this is something you can't have. I mean, like, I'm putting whatever, a wonderful image of a lobster in the restaurant ad, and say, hey, they have lobster, because my AI said this restaurant has a lobster, but they absolutely have no lobster. So I can't let that happen.
Yeah, it's a taco shop or something. There's no lobster there. And another, just to echo on, or to comment on that a little bit more, another thing that drives me crazy without the human touch is I use some AI tools. I have like an AI note taker app, like for meetings, like when I meet people, and it's like a complete AI company. So if I have an issue, like I can't find a file in there, and I go to their chatbot or something, I can't even get to a person, and it won't answer my question. It'll be like, oh yeah, sorry, you're out of luck. Like, can you forward me to a person? No, sorry. And it's like, this is really frustrating. There has to be a person on the other side of this somewhere. Somebody's running this thing.
100%.
But yeah, so there's that too. So you were talking about how, you're as automated as possible, but you've got that human touch. What does your team look like? Do you have people that just like are in charge of campaigns like that? Like what's it look like on the back end? What is the human touch? Who are those humans back there? And what was their role? There's you. Are you a solo person, or do you have people like kind of making sure all these campaigns are working properly on the back end also?
So we currently have a team of roughly 60 people. And so I would say it's roughly half, which is product, IT development, and the other half, which is really operations, as we call it. And operations really means for us building the banners, building the landing pages, making sure everything is served the way it should be served. So that the human touch that we have can be campaign management, like making sure the campaign is served at the right time, especially if you have sometimes campaigns that have an end date or a deadline because there is a festival on a certain date, and obviously it doesn't make sense to serve that ad after the event has happened. Then it might be campaigning here and there, but it's a lot of really building the perfect ad using, let's say, the recommendations that AI might have, but then fine-tuning, for example, the slogan, or fine-tuning the button, or fine-tuning the text on the landing page to perfection. And that's roughly where we have the human touch. So it's half, and 30 people in dev and product, and 30 is rather on the operation side.
That's awesome. And you may have talked about this, and I may have missed it. It's early over here. How does the how do you get paid, basically? Is there a fee you charge to publishers? Do you take a cut of the campaigns that you're running for publishers and small businesses? How does that work there?
We always want to be a profit center for publishers. So we make sure we only earn money when the publisher does. So
awesome.
And that's the reason why we decide for a cut or a revenue share model. We say we want to be in the same boat as the publisher. We want to train the teams. We want to train the advertisers as much as we can to make sure we're not selling 1 or 2 of those ads a month. We want to sell 100 or 200 a month so that it's fun for both sides. And then we take a cut for everything that we do, like from the banner creation, the landing page creation, the campaign management, the sales trainings, the building of the dashboards, and everything that we do in between. We then get a cut, and the publisher knows they only have to pay a cut if there is any revenue to be made. And that's how we see it. So when I'm talking that we are working with more than 500 publishers, it's always 500 profit centers. And that's something that we are really proud of, especially if I'm looking into the customers or publishers that we are working with. It's really from large to small, from rural to urban, from weeklies to dailies to monthly. So it's really very universal, and that's something that we are really proud of, because it shows that our system works as well for whatever, an Axel Springer in Germany, but also newspapers you probably never heard in your life. Let's get out a good German name, like a Mühlacker Tagblatt. Yeah, so it just works also for them. So the only common denominator that we have is they have SMB customers, small and medium-sized business, the plumbers, or it can also be a small brick and mortar shop, or it can be anyone who is not a multinational, who anyways has a huge agency and has 100,000 banners at their hands and is AT&T or is BMW. So for all of them, it works, and that's something that we are very proud of.
That's great. And you're basically, I think you said you're mostly in Europe, the publishers you work with, but you're global, right? Like if the Montrose Daily Press here in Western Colorado want to sign up for the platform today, they could, right?
Absolutely. I'm sending you the contract today, and we get you started as soon as possible.
I do not speak for them, but yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, good to know. I mean, the audience of this podcast is primarily in the local media space and related, so it could be of use to some folks, and primarily in the U.S.
Yeah,
and Canadian also. You said.
Yeah, we have a few U.S. and Canadian customers, and yes, it works for them as well, and it's basically the same challenge, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, I got through all my questions, Christian. What did I miss? Is there anything else that I missed that you'd like to get out there? And also, if you could let us know where people can find you and Smartico and all that.
Yeah, sure. So I would love to get in touch with anyone who's interested in, revolutionizing or increasing local digital ad sales. So it not necessarily needs to be smart ads, as it's just one of the products that we have. Have a look at Smartico.one. That's our website. You obviously also find me on LinkedIn. Then you can also see how my beautiful German name is written, how Paul pronounced it as Scherbel, and it should
Scherbel?
find it with this. And so reach out. So I'm always interested in having discussions around local advertising sales. I said I'm this local ad sales enthusiast by heart. So even if it's not about our products, but there's something great that you either have to share how you made it happen, that you suddenly sell all your thousands of local business, and that's a totally different approach, and it worked well. I would love to hear it, and I would love to see it. If you have a challenge in this local advertising industry, love to talk about this. Of course, I can show lots of best practices or case studies or business cases of people who did it with smart ads. I just love to talk about those things because I really am convinced that it's a great time to get the monetization of local advertising to the next stage now, not only because we have AI, not only because we are not yet sure what will happen with Google and all the antitrust things that are happening there. I just read today that Google Chrome will probably need to be split up from Google, and probably the Google Ad Manager might have the same destiny. What's about the Google AdSense program? So there's so much happening. And finally, the narrative ends that it's only about clicks. And if we find a way how to show the quality that we have as local publishers, which is not producing the most clicks, but producing a loyal audience that really reads the contents that we are putting out, but also the local ads. And if we can build that, I think there can be great, very sustainable business models for local newspapers. And that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love to discuss. That's what I love to see, new things that I haven't seen before. And reach out to me via LinkedIn. You'll definitely find my address on Smartico.one. And it's Christian at Smartico.one. If you don't want to search for it, I'm happy to hear from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian. And I will link to all that stuff in the show notes. So if you're listening, just scroll down and it should all be linked right there. Christian, thank you so much for taking the time. You have a great day.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Small Press Big Ideas. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to help the show, the best thing you can do is to tell a friend or colleague and just take a few minutes to leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to right now.
It only takes a minute out of your day, but it really does help the podcast grow and reach more ears. Check back for new episodes every Monday.